Well, a very warm welcome back to SAFC Live. And again, it wasn't to be for Sunderland at the Kassam Stadium this afternoon. They went down 2-0 to Oxford United. Again, penultimate game of the season. There's a lot going on, a lot of permutations around the grounds in the Championship. But first, alongside me, Danny Collins will take a look at the best, if we can say that, of the action.
Yeah, that's in terms of too many highlights, really. Obviously, I'm trying to think aside Chris Rigg's effort off the post, really, wasn't it? One or two efforts in the first half, but it was a difficult one. Credit to Oxford. You can't deny it. They deserved the points and safety and staying up this season, so credit to them. But yeah, it's going to be a tough week from our point of view. How does he go about it now? Trying to get the lads going and get a tune out of them, really. And I think there'll be concern amongst the fans. I know there's a lot of chat about doesn't matter, results going into the playoffs. You can turn it round, but I've been there as a player, and when you're in a run of form and results like we are at this moment in time, it's difficult to try and get out of it. And I would say if there's sort of signs really where I think, do you know what, we've played some really good football there, we're moving the ball really well, good tempo to us, Isidore's getting on the end of stuff. Not seeing too much of that this afternoon, so there's going to be a lot of head scratching this week, and obviously looking at the formation and the starting lineup for the Queen's Park Rangers game, which is perhaps your dress rehearsal really going into the first leg of the playoffs. So positives to take, really. Scratching around for performances in terms of positives, I would say, as I said there, Job put shift in, got around the pitch, tried to get us going with some momentum, really, and Chris Rigg at times as well. But other than that, I'm really struggling there to say there was too many that come out with that with a lot of credit. So back to the drawing board.
Yeah, we have to kind of take this honest approach, don't we? And again, lots of possession, wasn't it? And looking for those inroads, but Oxford were getting plenty of men behind the ball, and they were organised, weren't they? And they were the better team. Yeah,
play to your strengths, as simple as that. And I think if you want to have a sort of a football match, really, more often than not, you would fancy Sunderland when they're in form and full of confidence to come out on top. But you look at them set up in a 4-4-2, two big, strong centre backs. Play to your strengths, get the ball forward, make it a bit of a dogfight, really. And that was the case in the first 5 minutes. And then this is a half chance, really. This is a ball over the top, isn't it? Anthony Patterson, I think they're getting back in. Hellick actually from a set piece from their point of view. But I think a confident Wilson Isidore there gets the ball out of his feet, gets a strike away. It was almost like he wasn't sure. It was 2 or 3 touches stuck under his feet. Opportunity goes away. I think we had a couple of balls come in like this. Again, Will Volks this time helping out there. Gets a good touch in, doesn't he? Stops Job getting on the end of it, and then not long after, I've just been saying actually we've defended their balls coming into our box reasonably well, but this one we don't. We've got numbers back there, and the disappointing thing from that is contact on him. It's a free header, young centre back, doesn't have to do a lot really, just half a jump, just guides it into the corner. So that's a really disappointing one from our point of view, especially when it's our two centre backs really that are in and around him at that moment in time. And then this one, just straight after the break. So, Regis and the coaching staff will have had a few words to try and get the boys going, and then out of nothing really, strike comes in, Hellick's following it, and we're a little bit static there. And he's onside, you can see there, I think it's Dan Neil and is it Patrick Roberts, I think, far side who are playing him on. And credit to him, he's followed it in. There'll be 1 or 2 people questioning Anthony Patterson. I think if you want to help him out, it's fizzed in and it dips in front of him. Maybe can he parry it away from goal? Pops up, doesn't it? And then Hellick's there, and then that's it, and almost. Had the third not long after as well to really wrap the game up, but they had 1 or 2 opportunities on the counter-attack at times. I think they tried to play a little bit as well. Brannigan in there and Will Volks tried to dictate play, but we had a lot of possession in that second half. I think we've just seen there we had 68% of the ball. We've had 1 shot in the second half, but it's not even classed as on target, is it, coming back off the post? So it's another disappointing one, and in a way you feel for the fans that have made the journey down there as well.
There we go, and again, Chris Rigg, that was the closest that Sunderland came. There's the acrobatics there from Enzo Lefay as well, but it just didn't come off for Sunderland. Again, they were found wanting on many occasions. But again, we spoke in the pre-match show about potential opportunities for Oxford through their set pieces, and you pointed that out as their main threat, and it was their 2 centre-halves who scored, and it was like clockwork, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. So, it was 17 before the game. Does that count the second one? It's a second phase, really, in a way, but... Yeah. They'll work on them on the training ground, guaranteed. And if you're not going to take too many teams on, as I say, in a football match, an open game of football, then work to your strength. They've got the 2 big centre backs there. Obviously, more come on as well at the back late on as well. So they've got some physical presence. Thought Harris hustled well up the top end of the pitch as well. And credit to Gary Rowett and his staff there. They didn't take one of the forwards off later on. They almost said, well, no, we'll stick with our 4-4-2, because they wanted to put pressure on Luke O'Nien, Chris Mepham and the other lads at the back, not allow them to just bring the ball forward and almost camp into their box, really. So credit to him there. Set up well, made it really difficult for us. but we can't keep saying this. You know, we've been fourth for a while now. We were in the top 2 for the first 2 months of the season or so. Yeah. Played some really good football, so we know it's in the boys there, but it's not quite shown in this moment in time. It hasn't done for a couple of months now, if we're honest. So we've got to regroup, got to get ourselves together, work hard this week now on the training ground, and obviously try and get a performance back here at the Stadium Light against Queen's Park Rangers next week, and then try and go into the playoffs with a little bit of confidence.
Of course, and it's one of those, isn't it, where if we're looking at it optimistically, we do have a chance to turn around that momentum against QPR heading into that playoff semi-final, the first leg. But then again, fans do have a cause for concern when we've lost 4 in a row, when we're the 4th place side in the Championship. And as you point out there, we spent a lot of the early season in those automatic spots before fading away.
Yeah, and the fans will be discussing it. They'll be in the pubs and there'll be arguments or debates, really, however you want to go. See it on social media as well, where fans are saying, listen, we're coasting, we're in this sort of area where we don't have to do a lot, really. Lads are just trying to avoid injury, and all this sort of stuff comes out, really. I'm not having that as a former player. No. As I said it last week, you know, you train all week, you want to go out there, you want to put in a performance, and as say fans are coming here, 35,000 Sunderland fans, away trip today, 2,000 or so making the journey down there. So try and tell them it doesn't really mean a lot, really. Of
course.
And they're playing for shirts. As simple as that for me. Now, one or two might think, do you know what, I'm nailed on, I'm starting the playoffs, and all of a sudden you put in a couple of shockers, and then the manager's got a bit of doubt then, and he's looking, right, well, who's going to stand up for me now against Queen's Park Rangers and show I want a shirt for that first game of the playoffs, really. So Regis and his coaching staff maybe watch the game back if they're coming back on the coach this evening now. Get back on the game. A lot of managers want to get the laptop. They'll be looking at. They'll have a few meetings this week in their offices, out on the training pitches, and thinking, how are we going with this now? Because all of a sudden, I said it before the game, we've probably got 7 or 8 there on the starting lineup who are nailed on for the start. I was going to say Bristol City. We're not sure who we're going to get yet because obviously they're still struggling below us to try and sort it out themselves, really. But it's going to be a bit of a head scratching going on for the manager, for his coaching staff as well, and for the players. They've got to stand up now and try and put in 1 or 2 performances and you know, go into the playoffs, because it is difficult. 1 or 2 will say you can flick a switch. You can't do that. You've got to go into it now and try and get things together on the training ground and put in a performance next week.
Yep, next week we play a QPR side. If we've had a bad day, theirs has been a fair sight worse. 5-0 beaten at home by promoted Burnley, of course. And if we take a look at the results from around the grounds in the Championship, of course, there was that game at Loftus Road, but so many others that have had a real impact. You mentioned who we might get in the playoff semi-finals. It could be one of about 4 or 5 teams now, because it's become so condensed due to the results today. If we have a look at it, Sheffield United obviously won at Stoke last night. Their place in 3rd is confirmed. They'll play the 6th place side. Luton beating Coventry keeps them within a real chance for fight. Coventry, of course, now on the back foot in terms of the playoffs. Burnley, of course, hammered QPR at Loftus Road. Blackburn beat Watford 2-1, and that's crucial for Rovers to try and get a chance at sneaking into that top 6. Cardiff are now down, having drawn goalless with West Brom. That is a huge blow. Cardiff in League One, almost unimaginable, but they're going to have to do it from the 3rd tier next season. Derby, massive for them. Winners at Hull. Both of those have been down around battling. Middlesbrough and Norwich, they're playing out a goalless draw, and Borough have still got a chance of the top 6. Millwall have got themselves in with a shout, a hard-fought 1-0 win over Swansea. Plymouth, absolutely massive. They spent most of the season propping up the table, and they've won 2-1 at Deepdale against Preston. Sheffield Wednesday and Pompey both safe, 1 apiece, and of course our defeat at Oxford. Leeds and Bristol City play on Monday. So if we're looking at that, now we'll take a look at the league standings and what these results mean.
Oh, it's massive, isn't it? Both ends of the table. Let's just say Coventry have done so well to get there, and all of a sudden they're having a bit of a slip late on now, aren't they? So that's back-to-back defeats for them. Millwall, again, we played them here a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? We thought, well, maybe not now under Alex Neil, but he's got them going, hasn't he, at the right time, and they've got a real opportunity, as I say, next week there as well. Blackburn as well. What was it, 65 points? So it's all to play for. It's one of those where you need about 5 or 6 TVs next week, isn't it, to keep an eye on results, and then obviously you're taking that out of it, and then Middlesbrough as well have made hard work of it. Again, home, wasn't it, 0-0 today, so they've let it slip possibly, although goal difference is in their favour really if it comes down to that, but would not like to call that. I think Coventry have got one of the big teams next week, one of the top teams. I'm sure they have. I'm not sure on the fixtures.
Playing
Coventry Borough. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So that's a humdinger of a game, that one, isn't it? Really. Absolutely. Yeah. So and then I'll have to get onto the bottom of the table as well and see what's happening down there.
Just take a look at the bottom half now, and I mean Cardiff City, who haven't been bottom for most of the season, now find themselves 5 points adrift and down. They'll play in League One next year for the first time in a long time, 22 years if I'm correct. And then you've got, look, Plymouth, Hull, Luton, Preston have ended up dragged back in there because they lost to Plymouth, and then Derby and Stoke still not out of the woods yet either. Everyone from Oxford up are now safe. But, I mean, another one of your former sides here, Danny, Stoke City, in danger of dropping into the third tier.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay. I'm just looking at Plymouth there, actually. They're struggling, aren't they? Because the goal difference is massive there. What is it, 16 goal difference to Luton? So that's a blow for Plymouth doing their job, really. But Luton getting that late winner against Coventry's not helped them out at all. And then, obviously, Preston's goal difference as well. So, yeah, I think they're pretty much gone, aren't they, Plymouth, even though they give it a good go.
They've got Leeds on the final day.
Yeah,
they'll be in party mode.
Yeah, and then you're looking at Hull, really. So it's Hull, really, isn't it? I would say between Hull, Luton, Preston, who've almost dropped into it from nowhere, really. They were sort of a steady mid-table team, weren't they, Preston, and then find themselves down there. And Derby as well, who've, fair play, they've had a good go, haven't they, Derby, and give themselves a good chance next week. So, yeah, so it's going to be interesting, but, a little too late for Plymouth, I think.
Without wanting to preempt anything, of course, if we or whoever wins the playoffs, whoever goes up with Leeds and Burnley, we've seen Ipswich's relegation confirmed, unfortunately up the road at St James's Park, but Ipswich have gone down which has been inevitable for a long time, with Leicester, with Southampton. They were the three that came up. That's 2 consecutive seasons that's happened now. How do teams stop that? Because obviously the financial gulf is becoming bigger, the quality of squads is becoming bigger. Like, you've got West Ham in 17th, who have got the likes of Jarrod Bowen and Nicholas Füllkrug, Germany striker, in their squad. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, the gulf's getting bigger, isn't it? And you say their last 2 seasons are obviously proving that. Excuse me. So, how do you get about it, really? Well, you try and take your squad up. Got to try and add to it. I think if you look at Nottingham Forest a couple of seasons ago, they brought in 15, 20 players, didn't they? Almost went down, but then look where they are at this moment in time. And then Ipswich has sort of followed that in suit, really, where they've brought a lot of players in this season. Hasn't worked out for them. So then players are going to obviously move on. I think the Lap more than likely will move on in the summer from their point of view. But if you're asking me from our point of view, or the teams who are going up now from the Championship, well, you obviously take your squad up. You perhaps assess who you think can make the step up, and then what you've got to add to it, and then, in this day and age, you've got to spend a lot of money. I think even if you want to try and survive, really, unless you've got a really good manager who can get a system out of them. You look at the likes of Brentford. I think everyone goes back to Brentford and maybe Brighton a few years ago, don't they? Really, in terms of their recruitment and how they've gone about it, and maybe not blasting 50, 60 million pound on a player, but having to build really and gradually doing it and secure your status as a Premier League side. Try and build, 2 or 3 seasons, go from there, really. And you hope you can survive. And then if you give yourself an opportunity in that first year, then maybe you're drawing the attention of 1 or 2 players who maybe thought, do you know what, I'm not sure about going there, because more than likely they're going to come back down. Whereas if you see that there's a bit of stability there, they've been around it for 1 or 2 years, then you can attract players. So it's going to be interesting either way. Certainly if you're asking me from a Sunderland point of view, if we go up, how do we go about it? But obviously if we don't go up this year, then we've got a good young squad, and there's going to be 1 or 2 clubs looking at our young talent as well.
Before we wrap up, of course, Monday morning there'll be some analysis, there'll be a few video clips, etc., etc. But after that, it's a straight week heading into QPR, isn't it? And looking to salvage that momentum before the playoffs, because the last thing we want is 5 straight defeats, for example.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, again, I go back to it where people have been saying results are irrelevant. Well, they are in terms of that. You don't want to go into it losing, but performances are key for us at this moment in time. Have we seen a little bit more today? Maybe not. Listen, we made 7 changes last week. 1 or 2 lads come in who haven't had a lot of football. I thought first half we played quite well, albeit didn't create too many opportunities last. And then second half, Blackburn stifled us, really, and for all the possession we had, we didn't break them down. Similar, really, today, really. But you're giving goals away in the manner which we are, then obviously you're going to be chasing games of football. Set pieces again. I mentioned it before the game. It's going to be interesting if Dan Ballard's fit, really, because Dan is our biggest aerial threat in terms of attacking balls in the opposition's box and defensively as well. He goes and heads everything. He's a big, strong lad. And I think the coaching staff might have to weigh that up. Depends who we get as well, of course, in the playoffs. Because it's a concern for me. Balls coming in our box and we're conceding goals as well. But it's a big week. How do you go about it now? Get back on the bus to now. Lads will be quiet and flat, really. Maybe get tomorrow off, but then you've got to build as a full week, and you've got to try and get back on it as soon as you can. You've got to get them going. The coaching staff have got to G the lads up, try and get a good atmosphere around the place, and the boys have got to do it as well. And then you look at Queen's Park Rangers coming here next week, so it's the last game. QPR mid-table-ish now, aren't they? Obviously they've had a bit of a hiding today, so they want to finish with back-to-back defeats. Coming up here, they can play with a bit of freedom. as a player, you come up to the Stadium Light, it's a great place to play football. So Queen's Park Rangers players will come up here, try and enjoy themselves, and obviously with a bit of a scalp in this league as well. And we don't want to finish with, obviously, 5 defeats on the bounce, and then go into the playoffs with the confidence at low, really. So it's going to be an interesting week.
So Sunderland come off unstuck down south in Oxford. It's a long way back, but a 2-0 defeat will be a hard one. Again, though, this week they return from a university town looking to give QPR a footballing lesson before the real business starts of the Sky Bet Championship playoffs on May the 9th. Don't miss it. SAFC Live will be back next week for Sunderland against Queen's Park Rangers from the Stadium of Light. Bye from us.